everybody, Allison Cope here for Gerda Steiner Designs. Today we're going to be playing with some bears, so come and join me. I first started out by layering 4 different digital stamps. So we have a birthday bear, the little bear with the cake and the candle. We have the coffee bear from the November-December 2016 stamp bundle. We have the Have a Berry Sweet Day bear, and you can get him with a blank sign or another sign that says Have a Berry Sweet Day. And then our final image is the You Are Berry Sweet bear holding the watermelon. So I layered everything, and then I created some duplicates. So the first thing I did was I created a duplicate on some pretty pattern paper. So this is my whole entire image, and I've actually die cut it out to fit an A2 sized card. So there we go, and I'm okay with it cutting off the edges because I still have my whole entire card, and my images are just going to be placed over top. So I have this as part of my base. And then I have a white version of all 4, because what I'm going to do is kind of paper piece them so that they're at different levels. So for this one, the only bear that I actually color is the little bear with the coffee mug, and he will go down on the page like this. And then I have a second copy with only the next 3 bears, and in this one I'm going to color the watermelon and the cake bear, and then when they're colored up, they're going to be layered on top of here. So the bears will be color, color, not colored, and color. And then finally I just have the single bear with the sign, and he will go get colored and be put on top. So there will be kind of 4 different levels of bears, and they'll all be colored, and of course the sentiments on the sign. So come and let's color our layers. Okay, we're going to start with our first layer. This is the layer that has all 4 bears, but the only colored bear will be our little coffee cup bear. I'm going to start by mapping out our shadows with an E50. So anywhere where I believe there's a shadow, we're going to add our light kind of creamy color. I'm going to make this bear white or so colored white, and of course white is never really white when it comes to coloring. There's always different tones. Sometimes you have shadows, things like that. So you never color a white image white. So I'm also trying to maintain a little bit of texture, and so I'm adding kind of feathery stroke marks. And as far as all the detail, things like the watermelon and the coffee cup and things like that, I'll always do them last. I'll always color my creatures first, because in the end, sometimes I don't exactly have a plan when it comes to my color scheme until my images are actually colored. So we're also going to do some depth and bring out the bridge of his nose, which would be here. So we're deepening those eyes and where they're set. I'm going to go around the nose a bit here too, and underneath his chin. So there's a fair amount of that color, and we're going to go in and deepen it even more with an E51. So just going back into those details again. That. And anywhere that The shadows are going to be a little bit deeper. Do that. So under his arms, things like that. The edge of his body. Now, because this paw belongs to our watermelon dude, there's going to be a shadow that's cast towards the back. So, just trying to maintain that kind of fuzzy look. There we go. Strengthen the shadows of those eyes. Could even do just a touch on his eyebrows. There we go. All right, he's beginning to kind of pop here. And then I'm going to go in with some warm grays. And actually, I think I'll start with a warm gray 1. Hopefully you guys can still see this okay. So warm gray 1. I generally stick to the warm grays when I do critters. I think it's a more natural colored gray than some of the other neutral tones. But that's a personal choice. You can do, of course, whatever floats your boat. So again, just deepening some of those marks. Just adding some texture by adding some fur strokes. Sometimes I just do a line too. Like over here, I just accentuate that shadow line itself without adding any details. So all the way down. Just general flicking. Another straight line detail. I'm going to go back and add a little bit more there. A little bit more here. Alright. And I'm going to keep that simple. Alright. And again, we're building up those shadows, right? And we're going to deepen them by using a warm gray 3. So again, this is even darker. And accentuate that cast shadow from our watermelon dude. And of course, the shadow that his arm leaves. And the shadow that his chin will leave. And his schnozola. And those arches. Again, just accentuating that furry line. And you can deepen and darken these as much as you want. You could go even darker if you wished. Kind of whatever. Oops, that was a little long, but oh well. You just kind of make it your own, right? There we go. Looking pretty good. Just going to add a little bit to that ear. And let's add a little bit of color. And R30, we're going to put some cheeky cheekies on him. I think we're going to kind of do them here. And of course you don't have to put cheekies on your critters. Now, to soften those lines, I'm going to use my blender because it's kind of a little bit stark, and it can actually push that color back into the paper too a little bit, which will soften them. And I'm also going to add some pink into those ears. Whoops, got the wrong end. Oh well. And there we go. And again, you can take that blender pen and just kind of push in those edges so they're a little softer. So they're not like circles per se. I think what I'll do is I'm going to go back to my E50 and I'm going to put a little bit more color in to the inset of his eyes. That'll help kind of push them back. All right, and then let's do his nose. I'm going to do a warm gray 5. Whoop. Sorry, I'm not used to putting my caps on camera, but a lot of people have requested them. So I'm going to leave a highlight to do with a gel pen. It just makes it so much easier than having to leave the highlight on the nose. So that's W5. And we're going to deepen that with a W7. So I'm going to leave the top of the nose a lighter gray. So I'm actually not even going to put any W7 on that. And there's our little bear all colored up. You know what? I'm actually going to add a little bit of that E50 to his snout too. There, I think that looks a little bit better. There we go. Did it look a little better? There. It seems to push them back a little bit. Okay, let's go on to our next layer. All right, for our second layer, we're going to do our end bear. So let's start with our little cake bear. We are going to start with our base color of E30. And I'm going to do a full-on background of this color. Okay, to add our shadows, I'm going to start with an E33. So just going to go in, pretty much trace anywhere where there's going to be a shadow. I'm going to go in and kind of blend out that brown now. I'm going to come in with an E31, and I'm just going to kind of map in those shadows again. I'm going to do a blend with my lightest color again, so I'm just going to almost scratching it on. Being kind of sketchy with my strokes too. Okay, I'm going back to my E30 again. pushing everything back in. Okay. And you know what? I think we're going to go in with the E33. And what I'm going to try and do is just crisscrossy. I'm just skipping across using the fine tip of my marker. And the thing you want to do is go all different directions, because if you do a line of like cross hatches that are all the same, it doesn't look like fur because it's too regular or patterned, and it's not irregular like a fur would be. So I'm literally kind of making like little teeny X's. And you can add more X's where you want shadow. So it's pretty much kind of like cross hatching, but more randomized. Okay, I'm going to finish up this, and then we'll go on to the other bear. So to finish his shadows off, I did go in with an E27 and added all that detail in. Again, I used the kind of scuttling. And again, I will do the nose the same. We'll come back to that. And let's get working on our little melon dude. Okay, for the base color of this little fella, I'm going to use E71. And again, I'm just going to put this color down. Now my E71 has dried out and I don't have a refill for it, so I'm going in with my E70, which I do have a refill for. I am going to go right over his snout as well as a base color. I'm not worried about the difference there because we're going to get rid of that kind of streaky texture in a couple of minutes here. Okay, I went and refilled this one. I'm not even worried about if I cross over to this bear because he's a whole separate entity and he gets put over top of this image anyway. So I'm not worried about if I happen to drop a stroke of color over that side. Okay, I'm going to do his little tushy here and his other paw. Let's go in and add some shadow detail with oops, sorry, that's our dry one. We're going to go E74. So again, because this guy is tucked in behind our little sign fella, we are going to add that cast shadow detail. Now his watermelon piece is going to add a shadow to his own body. I'm going to add a little bit of shadow to the other side. His ear. Okay. Add a shadow. Kind of around his eyes. There. And of course, there's going to be a nice dark shadow underneath his chin. And add a little bit of a shadow behind his feetsies. Tiny bit under his paws and right where his hand kind of bends there. Some under his nose, eyebrows, and then his feet. Okay, I am going to go in and add an even deeper shadow using E77. And then we're going to blend everything out. Just putting it in just the darkest spots. So I'm keeping this amount of color to a minimum. Okay, so I'm going to go back to our E70 and just see if I can blend out a little bit of our background here. We may have to go in again and add more of that E77. Which I am going to do, or sorry, E74. And I'll show you why I want to make sure that this is fairly dark. Show you in a second here. The next step is where we get to kind of have fun. Again, I'm going to go and just blend just kind of where I've left highlight lines. Okay, this is where the fun begins. Now, I have a tiny piece of a washcloth, basically, and I know you're not supposed to put this in a sprayer, but I have mine in a sprayer. So I have alcohol blending Copic blender solution in here, and I just spray the textured side a few times, and then I kind of wrap it so that I don't have a block, but I have a nice pouncy end. And I'm gonna 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, just because it's a little bit drier. 1, 2, 3, 4. Let's add just a tiny bit more. Okay. Find your rougher side. I'm just going to do 2 spritzes, and you can play with the texture too, like just kind of fluff it up. And I'm going to do his bottom. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So what it does is it uses the texture of the cloth and all those little, I forget if they're called, I think they're called piles, but I'm not 100% sure. So it takes those loops and just applies them to the paper. So that's the only thing that's touching it. So that's how you get texture. Now, you have to understand with this process, you always get things that run. So if you, actually let's here, I'll show you closer. If you look, see how it's bled right there, right there, and all along this edge. So you need to take your blender pen and just push that back. And generally it's fairly easy because generally it's a thinned out ink because you've already applied blender solution to it. So it's generally pretty easy to push it back. There we go. And I'm not going to worry about the nose because we're going to make it darker. And you have to do this technique before you color anything. So if, for instance, we were coloring this guy, we would always do the textured one first and then go and color the second one. And the bleeding on that side, like I said, doesn't matter. So I'm going to do his nose and then we're going to work on our last piece. Okay, our fourth and final bear. I'm going to start with E41. I'm trying to make each bear slightly different because I don't want all four of them to be the same. Sorry, I had to go and refill another one. Much better. It's amazing how much better your markers color when they actually have ink in them. I'm going to add a little bit of shadow before we go any further with some W5. It's fairly dark, but once we blend it out, it will only be like subtle and not like super obvious. That's why I'm only using really fine line. And let's go down. He's gonna have shadow. Okay, on to E42. So I'm going to be fairly generous with this one. We're going to put some details in as far as fur. Try and keep that bear-like texture here. Ooh, and there. That's what you get for refilling them. I could have avoided that. See how shiny that tip is? It's got a lot of ink. So to fix it is just pull off the cap at the other end. And what it does is it equalizes the barrel and pulls that extra ink back into the barrel. I'm not worried about that because we can just use it to our advantage. No big deal. Going over that snout. Just going to inset his eyes a little bit there. other paw. He's so cute. And then do his tushy. Okay, so we're going to go in with, make sure I got right ends here, with an E43, which is the next darkest color. I'm going to put a few more furry type textures and accentuate all of those that we did actually put in. Okay. I hope he doesn't look mean. I hope he still looks cute. He's got quite the fur around his brows. Alright, looking good. Let's go down and add some more shadows. Just deepen those a little bit. There we go. He's got cute, isn't he? He's got quite the grin now that we put him like that. Okay, I'm gonna go in again with the E42, and I'm just going to deepen some of these areas and add some furry texture. I can't get over his mean little stare there. Alright, so my pen is going to do the same thing again because I just refilled it, so it's just super full of ink. Do a little bit more work to his paws. I think I'm going to darken his whole underbody there. And I'm just going to put a few marks up at the top there. There. Simple, simple, simple. And then I'm going to do his snout. I think a more richer brown. Let's start with an E37. There we go. And I'm not even going to add a richer color in there. I think I will add just a tiny, tiny bit to his ears, like super tiny. And just a hint on his cheeks. Okay. Oh, he's so cute. I do like the way he ended up. All right. So we have our first layer, second layer, third layer, and we just have to color in all of our details. Aren't they adorable? I love how they came out. Okay, well, let's start with the watermelon because obviously we kind of know watermelon colors, so let's start with that one. I'm going to start with a base of R22. Now, watermelons kind of have like this white before they get to their rind, so I'm going to leave a gap. I'm also going to color right over top the seeds because we're going to color them black anyway, so that's easy to fix. Okay, so there's our base. Okay, then I'm going to put a little bit of R14. We're going to do kind of that bite mark. And watermelons are kind of veiny almost, if you look at them. So I'm just going to scuttle again through all of these areas, leaving some of that R22 visible. So hopefully it will look a little bit more like a watermelon. I mean, it doesn't have to be exact because these images are cartoony, so we don't have to make them exact, or realistic anyway. There we go. And I think I will put just a teeny tiny touch of R17. I'm going to put it kind of in the shadow where there might be shadows. I got a tiny hair on there. And I think we'll just put a tinkle here and there too. Okay, there we go. And then let's do the rind. YG 17. Okay, I'm going to grab my gel pen. And okay, I picked the bold one, which is a size 10. And what I'm going to do is put a little bit on, touch my finger to it so it kind of makes it soften, because some brands of watermelon actually have kind of green on the outside. So there, it kind of makes it look like it has stripes. And all I did was touch it with my finger. Okay, let's go to the other end here. Let's work with pink because now we have it on our card. So let's make the icing on our cake pink. So again, we're going to just put that R22 down. Sorry, I didn't put my cap up. R14. So wherever I think there's going to be shadow, that's where I want to put it. There we go. And I will pull in a little bit of our R17 again, just sparingly. And I think I'll make this creamy colored. So I'm gonna put down an E50 base. Like such. Maybe we'll do a green candle, because that'll tie it in with the watermelon. So we'll make it interesting and put some stripes on it. And this bear here, I'm going to put some kind of eyeballs, or like color around his eyeballs. So this is a BG11. Just makes his eyes stand out a little bit. And I'm going to go back here. Let's pull in E31. And how do I explain this? If you've seen any recent cakes, they tend to scrape the icing down and you see the cake layers underneath. So the icing goes over top. You can see the cake layers. I don't know how else to explain it. And then we need the flame. I use my favorite yellow, Y17, and maybe we'll put a little bit of pink, which makes it a little bit darker orange. Okay, so they're done. Let's go into the cup, and again, let's use that pink. Obviously, hearts is a red, so let's leave those hearts white and do our mug pink. And then we'll darken. Use our R14 to show depth, and then maybe we'll do like a variegated mug. So I'm just gonna put our R14 right over top that pink and bring it up. And then go in with our R17 and add some depth. I'm also going to add shadow on the inside, sorry. And again, just a little bit of red. I'm not going up the cup as far. All right, and the only thing left is the sign. And maybe we'll leave it white. I can color it at the very last minute if I need to. Okay, so let's assemble everything on the card. Okay, I started by adhering our first layer. Now if you look closely, I undercut all the other bears because I don't need the detail to come out to the edges, but I do need the layer underneath. So I went fairly close, but didn't cut into the details like some of the fur and things like that, because I don't need the details on this layer, because the only one that's going to show is the little bear at the end. Add glue and add my next layer. Okay, there's layer number 2. And let's put on our final layer. And there's my panel all finished, and it actually has quite a bit of dimension. It's hard to see, of course, on camera, but when you feel it, yeah, everybody steps up or steps down. So it's pretty cool. And I'm just going to add it to a card base and call it done. Thanks for joining me today. I appreciate you coming for a visit, and I hope to see you soon.